Yeah, take the quick money, get in and get out. I think the best value in this game is Tennessee minus 7.5 in the first half. UConn just is not a good football team. We've seen it consistently this season. The atmosphere, the competition, the speed of play is nothing like they will see at Tennessee on Sunday so far this season. Last week against Boston College, they were outgained by the Eagles 433 to 222. And Tennessee is 10 times more explosive than Boston College. As much as I like Tennessee to dominate the full game, I think the first quarter is the better move here just because I don't see UConn scoring quickly. I see a couple 3-and-outs for them, and I see Tennessee driving the field multiple times. UConn cannot throw with Taquan Roberson, and they won't be able to compete up front with Tennessee. That's the biggest area that we're going to see UConn struggle. It's going to be in the trenches, and that means Tennessee is going to be able to get the ball quickly and put it in the end zone. I think the Volunteers just absolutely blow their doors off. And I wouldn't want to lay 36 here. That's probably a stay away from me. But the fact that you can still get 7.5 in the first quarter is a steal. This game could easily be 14-0 at the end of the first quarter. It could be 21-0 if it plays out just like I expect it to, and that's Tennessee dominating. Another good fact here that Tennessee has covered 7.5 in the first quarter in the past two games against Kentucky and Alabama. If they can do it against those teams, they can do it against the Huskies. I really like Joe Milton in this game at home. He's been getting better and better, and especially at home, there's no reason to fade him here. Nothing UConn will do on defense will be able to stop him. So going to take Tennessee minus 7.5 in the first quarter. It's amazing how good Texas A&M has been on the defensive side of the ball. I think Ole Miss is going to have a lot of trouble in this game. I don't want to play a side here. I love the player props in college football because there's so many. Bookmakers can't really account for it every week. Jackson Dart under 240.5 passing yards. This may seem like a low line for Dart. He's put up some big numbers this season, but the past results have not been that good, especially I don't think the matchup's good against the Aggies defense, one of the best defensive teams in the SEC. They held Joe Milton to 100 yards passing last week in Knoxville, and then they limited Spencer Rattler, and say what you want about Rattler, but he can still throw the ball down the field to 176 the week before. Dart hasn't been the sharpest quarterback in the past couple weeks. He has a pick in 2 straight games. He's only exceeded 240.5 passing yards once in 3 contests, just really has not been that good lately. Threw for 202 against Auburn and 153 against Arkansas. And moving the football could be challenging here against A&M, especially if they can't get it going on the ground. That's where Dart really thrives in the play action game and then taking shots off the run game. So I just don't see them having that good of a day here offensively, especially with this Texas A&M defense. So going to go with the under. As scary as it is taking it 240.5, I do trust Jimbo Fisher's team here. By far, my favorite play of the week in college football is Travion Henderson, Ohio State running back, over 85.5 rushing yards against Rutgers. Travion Henderson isn't the first player we think of when Ohio State is discussed. It's Marvin Harrison Jr. And I think Marvin Harrison's going to have a great game, but his props become so inflated lately, it's hard to bet on him. Now, it is over 100. I would take that just because it is Marvin Harrison Jr., but the run game is where Ohio State's really going to thrive this weekend against Rutgers. Henderson's averaging 6.7 yards per carries. He has 6 touchdowns this season. He's coming off back-to-back 100-yard games against Notre Dame and Wisconsin. There isn't a reason that he shouldn't make it 3 against Rutgers. Been very, very good this season. The Scarlet Knights really struggle against the run. They're much better against the pass here, but they're allowing under 150 passing yards per game, but about 178 rushing yards per game. That's the reason to look to Henderson in the spot. I see Ohio State coming in here, dominating this game, but pounding the rock consistently, especially when they get a lead, just to keep the clock moving here. Marvin Harrison, again, should have that big game in the passing game, but I can't trust him to go over 100 yards, and somebody has to pop off this week. It's going to be Henderson for them, so take him over 85.5 rushing yards. Saturday night in Tuscaloosa should be a good one. I'm going to lay the points here with the Crimson Tide at -3. It makes sense to me. There is a lot of money and bets coming in on LSU, which isn't surprising. The Jaden Daniels effect, the offensive effect for LSU. Can Alabama keep pace? That's something to watch in this game. But when we look at Alabama, they're the much more sound football team coming into this one. I think people think that LSU's defense is fixed just because they blew out Army and then they blew out Auburn as well. 48-18 win over Auburn. So the defense played well there. And then 62-0 against Army. The defense should play well against these teams. Auburn is not good just because they almost beat Georgia. They're not a good football team. That's the bottom line here. Alabama's a different beast, and I think we're going to see Alabama's defense shine in this game. LSU allows 395 yards per game, 26.5 points per game. Alabama gives up 10 fewer points per game than the Tigers. That's the biggest difference in this one. And I go back to the Texas game with Jalen Milroe. We can talk bad all we want about Jalen Milroe. He wasn't ready for that moment, but I think he's ready now. This is the moment where he really takes off. He's been effective with the football. He hasn't turned it over that much. He's been efficient down the field, and he's just done enough for Alabama to win. That's all he has to do. He just has to stay within himself here and allow the defense to go out and make plays for him. I don't think LSU is going to have a 55, 60-point explosion in this game against the Crimson Tide. Jaden Daniels talented, but I think that Alabama defense will take over. The night will switch in Tuscaloosa, and bad things are going to happen to LSU here. It's going to be a tight game, but I think that revenge factor is going to play into it for the Crimson Tide here, too. In the fourth quarter, they find a way to take over this game, pound the rock, and then hold Jaden Daniels and contain him in the fourth quarter and find a way to win. So going to lay the points here. LSU or Alabama -3. They're the better team. They're better on defense, and that's what's going to make the difference.